video you're going to watch now after this little intro was recorded several days ago, Sunday, I think. Today is Friday. Still, yes. And so I just finished cutting it and going through, just scrubbing through it. I realized what I didn't do was to mention that the purpose of this video is not to be a tutorial. So it isn't going to teach you how to do these things or any of those things. The goal is just to get your feet kind of wet, to get you a good sense of how the programs work and kind of what the limitations are, all the rest of that sorts of things. How much of a learning curve you would have in front of you. And so you can kind of just to get a better idea of which option you'd like to look into. So yeah, if you see one, you think, hey, that's what I want, then yeah, by all means, then we start talking about, look, what does it take to get that rolling and all the rest of that. So yeah, I think without further ado, I think we'll just launch into it.
Good couple of clicks. Okay. So, all right. So this is to answer your question. For those of you who are kind of stumbling upon this, not quite sure what in the world's going on, the question comes from a friend of mine. So here's a screenshot of, in fact, this is the podcast Timcast IRL. In fact, so in the corner is just a picture of him talking to the camera. So he's discussing what's going on in this article. In fact, so here's the rest of the screen. So on the screen as a whole is the article he is referencing to, and in the corner it's like picture-in-picture style. He's sitting there talking to the camera, discussing his view on what's going on. So the question comes is, how do you do that? And this is my suggested answer. Now, keep in mind, in this line of work, there's 1,000 different ways to do just about everything. If you're willing to pay money, there's 1,000,000 ways of doing everything. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if somebody has a better idea and wants to chime in, they're more than welcome to. In fact, I'll actually tap into a couple of friends to see if they have any other suggestions above and beyond what I'm about to tell you. Kind of what I figure, I had two options, knowing what I know of what you have. So what the equipment that she has is a iPad Pro. I think it's a second generation iPad Pro, so not the latest, but the one before. And a PC. I don't know what kind. One that has Windows, I guess. So that's about it. So the question comes is, if that's all you have, how would you go about getting this look and be able to record it like that? I came up with two solutions. One is OBS, the software, and the other is to actually do this within iMovie. And I'll show you both. So let's see here. OBS is a software that is very powerful, there are a lot of options, but it's also very simple. In fact, I think that's the brilliance of it, is it's done in such a way where it can be as simple as you want, or it can be as powerful as you want. It really is your choice. And so what I kind of figure is I would show you what we do. We use it for church, for broadcasting and streaming services from church onto YouTube. And yeah, so it's a pretty fantastic thing. So this is our setup. You can see, so we have the camera up here, spitting out a cable. Cable is connected to this iMac right here, and that's on the screen right here is OBS, and that's Isotope's Nectar 3 that's running. Here's audio interface that has a plug that's coming from the soundboard. So that's just a general overview. In fact, so you can see right in the screen what frame we have going on. In fact, that's not our actual frame, but the distance between the camera and the actual pulpit's somewhere in the neighborhood of 55 to 60 feet. I wrote the number down at some point and had to do calculations, but yeah, So that gives you that, if that gives you any idea how far that is. So here's the actual screen for OBS, and I'll go through this. I'll do a kind of a mock setup, show you what I'm talking about. But this is like ours. Ours is fairly simple. We just have one scene. Here's the view from the camera. We have an audio in for the audio interface that comes from the mixing board, and out it goes onto YouTube. This is the camera we use. It's the Canon 1DX Mark III. It's actually my camera. I just bring it and plug her in. So this is the wired connection. So this is the audio interface. So this goes to the back of the computer for a USB, and from there gets picked up by OBS. So here's the audio interface that takes this cable that comes from the mixing board over here on the right hand side, and its sole job is to take the signal from this cable and to turn it into ones and zeros that the computer can use. And that's pretty much it for his job. Moving over, and then on top of that, so feeding the mixer board or helping the mixing board is our rack. We have a CD burner. We have a couple of processors, data processors, all the rest of that stuff. It's a huge, just a big old rigmarole, and but OBS controls it. Not all of it. OBS doesn't control this. This spits out the audio, but I mean, it controls everything else in order to turn it into a usable signal for YouTube. Now, that said, you don't need to have it that crazy. In fact, I will show you. Do a quick. Let's get out of there. OBS. Here we go. So here's the church setup, and so this would actually be where the camera is set up. I do not have the camera set up right now because that's just the way it is. The Focusrite here, the 2i2, the audio interface, isn't picking up a signal because I don't have a cable going to it. In fact, I'm using the MixPre for this particular setup. And then display capture is my backup to the webcam, because you never know if something breaks. So to give you an idea of what you can do for so this would just be let's call it a talking head cam, because why not? So that's a new scene, right? So a scene is for OBS is just a single image. In fact, you'll get the idea real quick as I go along. Whenever we do this, we need two things. All video has video and it has audio. And strangely, between the two, audio is always the most important. If you can't hear the person, you're not going to watch them. That's for sure. So, but every video you watch has those two components. Has a video, something you can see, and something you can hear out of it. Obviously, there's exceptions, but whatever. So let's see here. We have, let's see here. So this is the talking head webcam. Then we need webcam. We'll go okay. At this point, I would normally use the EOS webcam in order to plug the camera in, but instead we're gonna just do a FaceTime HD thingamajig. So all right, preset is there. That's that camera right there. And click OK. In fact, the nice thing, so you see how you get this little red box, you get this black box, and then you have this gray on the side. Gray on the side does not matter. Gray on the side is just it's not sent out. This black box is what gets sent out or gets recorded. And then you have this guy right there. So you stretch that guy out, that will fill your frame. Perfect. Just exactly what we want. And then I would just give it a audio input device. Let's go with Scarlett. Yeah, why not? Actually, let's do iMac microphone. There we go. Look at that. So audio input. See, look at that. How that's going. That's great. Got the webcam going. Got the audio input. So that's one of our scenes. Let's add another scene. Talking head, picture in picture. Okay, so for this one, same thing. We still need video and we still need audio. So, video capture device, and then video capture device, add existing webcam. Okay, there we go. Look at that. That's a webcam. And so say we want to add browser. So this is going to be your there we go. So you can change the width or the whatever's the width and height. I'm not going to worry about that right now, but here's your URL. So if you want to do www.google.com, and then she should pop up. There we go. So you can stretch that out or zoom it in. In fact, let's see if this will. We can stretch it. I would not recommend stretching it. So anyway, so you can maybe Google is a bad site to utilize, but all the same. So essentially what ends up happening, so, oh, yay, you know, hey, I disappeared. All right, so that, which is fine. So if you, hey now, just move the webcam up. There we go. Look at that. And so this can get shrunk down if you want to wherever you want. Move to wherever part you want. So long as you're not out, like this is off. And then this is on. So you can go here if you want to do Tim style, do it that. There we go. And so the bad thing about this is I would have to do some research, but if you're looking for something to interact with, that's all of a sudden where, like I said, I'd have to do some research in order to figure out how to do that. But it gives you a website. So if you have something already set, like, all right, let's go. So let's go. I don't know. So we do copy. Open this guy up. Paste. Yeah, so refresh browser when scene becomes active. So that's gonna instead of saving one into memory, it's what it's gonna do is it's gonna look for it the minute you click on it. So there's that. Let's see what happens if we do that. And this is getting kind of slow. Ooh, there we go. All right, so we essentially we're pushing I'm recording and I'm screen capturing and I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff all at the same time. And there we go. Look at that. Can we interact with it? That's So that's a shot of the, and it's supposed to be essentially a working browser. Scrolling and everything. We'll figure that out. But for the purposes of this, what I'm showing you to kind of give you an idea of what's going on, you can use OBS to get this. That's not a problem. So that is OBS. Oh, and essentially what ends up happening is you can change between. So you're talking. In fact, we can set up scene transitions, either a cut or there's a fade. So you notice how it just kind of like just jumped, where you can do that and then it scrolls over and all of a sudden then you're in the bottom corner. That's a really nice way of doing things, and you can tweak that. There are hotkeys that you can use, you can set up so that essentially what ends up happening is, so you can set this one up to be 1, this one up to be 2, something else to be 3, something else to be 5, or any of the keys. So you can do across the, A, S, D, F, G, all the, on your keyboard or however you want to do it. And so effectively what ends up happening is you can set it up so that, if you want to go from here to the other one, you just hit 2 or whatever the hotkey is that you set up. So you can, if this one is 1, no matter what's going on, if you want to cut out what's going on, you just hit 1 and it'll jump to this guy. So that's pretty cool. So that's OBS. Really good. The nice thing about OBS is that the nice thing about OBS, in fact, we can this. The nice thing about OBS is that once you're done, you get through, you broadcast, you talk, you have everything set up. It requires a bunch of setup, but once you're done, you're done. Like, that's it. You stop recording, and then everything else is exactly how you expect. You go on, you chop off the back end, chop off the front end in order to make it nice and smooth, and then upload it. And then it's good. That's it. It's good. That part's nice. The problem is it's live, and you have to control it while you're doing it. So if you have another person who's sitting there and they can control things and they know how you want things, then that's kind of nice. Then you just do the show and they do things behind the back end. But the problem is for the most part, like, most people aren't like that. And a lot of people aren't wired that way in order to both talk and hit buttons at the same time in order to figure out what they're doing. And if you screw up, that's live. That's part of the recording. So you either have to go in and edit it, which kind of defeats the purpose of OBS, or it's there. And so that's that. So that's a rough, bit about OBS. It does require a camera. Like, we have a camera. The church uses a camera. Macs come with a camera. You'd have to come up with that. You'd have to come up with audio. So you need some kind of, you don't need this. You don't need an audio interface. But some kind of a microphone. I don't know if your lav was a USB, you can just plug into your computer. That's a possibility. So in effect, that would be just fine. If you use like Messenger, or if you use Skype, something along those lines, all these things they're just tiny little details that you just kind of have to sort out and figure out how do you implement it within OBS. If you have the technological know-how and the willpower to just like tackle that, then that's cool. But otherwise, that's, it's just what you got to do. So that's option 1 is OBS. Option number 2, iMovie. In fact, we'll start her up here. So iMovie, you're fairly familiar with. In fact, so I haven't used iMovie in quite a bit. All right, sweet. That's awesome. Let's see here. what do I want to do? So I want off the desktop. Desktop, church setup, iMovie example. There we go. So I just created a couple of files. Import. So here's the thing. So you have this. I just did a picture. You could do a screen capture of like a website while you're talking. So in other words, you're talking, you're recording it the old way you used to do it, but you're looking at a page or whatever the case may be. And if you use, like I have on my phone, I could do a screen capture. I just hit record and it records it. It's kind of nice. For substitute purposes, I just took random pictures of random stuff on my desk, like this can of soda. That's actually in focus. That's not bad for an iPhone. And then here's my ever joyful, pleasant, talking. So the question is, how do you mesh this so you have this going on in the background with a talking head in the picture-in-picture style sort of a thing? And it's actually easier than you'd think. So essentially what I would do is, so you have this picture of this guy. What's with the Ken Burns effect? That's not automatic, is it? I better not be. There we go. Fit, effect, right. Crop to fill. There we go. Let's crop it to there. That'll work. Why not? Sweet. There's our can. All right, so that's our can. And we have my joyful exuberance sitting there chatting. I'm not quite sure why this is quite as big as it is. There we go. So let's, just for posterity's sake, and audio. So I'm just going to kind of want audio on there. I'm just going to detach audio so we don't have to listen to that. All right. So we have the can, and all of a sudden I'm going to sit there and I'm going to start talking about it. In fact, why don't we go there? And so I'm talking. In fact, so right there, we'll just trim this up so it's not too boring. So, but the problem is, look at that. We have the can, and then we have me talking. So, the way around that, if you want to do, so I double clicked on that guy. That's me yapping away. And see where it says cutaway. This is, by the way, so this is iMovie on, on a desktop, essentially, on my Mac, on my iMac. So iOS is going to be slightly different, but it should have this. If not, my apologies for wasting time or whatever. So right here, picture in picture, all of a sudden, boom, you just got shrunk down. There we go. And if I want to stick that in the corner, I can stick that in the corner. And then, so I can be talking about this. And so instead of having, imagine instead of this, you have a screen capture of, your guy that's going. So you say, all right, yeah, but what if, because if you extend this out, that's just going to be a picture in picture there. That's a good point. So you do have the option. You can just grab the part of this that doesn't magnetize. That's kind of weird. All right. Let's see if this. Ooh, there we go. Look at that. All right. Essentially, what I would do is just find that part that's not quite sure why that transitions. Anyway, you kill the transition. I'm not going to worry about the details, even though I really want to. Ugh. Border color. Moving on. So, this guy talking. Spread it. And I'm still talking. And detach audio because I don't want to hear that. All right. And this guy's going. Look at that. We're already going. Now, what you can do, if you plan ahead, say you want to talk about something and then look at it just like this. You can do it this way. Alternative 2 is if you, oh, look at that. I'm a little more cheerful in this one. So if you want to talk about it, oh, come on. The keyboard, oh, keyboard shortcuts work. Look at that. I is where your in cut is. So I want to in right there. I'm going to sit there and talk about it. Out. And I'm going to drag it. Oh, this is so exciting. So where is this? So here's my out. My previous in was there. And there comes a point where whatever. So I'm just going to do that. So I double click on, make sure that guy is whatever is picture in picture. Drag him. I don't know, where was I? In the corner? Now I'm talking about pens. I'm probably talking about pens anyway. Okay, so I'm talking about things, and then I think what we'll do is, if I'm yammering along, so essentially what ends up happening is, oh, I think about something for a second. And so what I would do if I'm yammering, does that have a blade? No, it does not. What I'm struggling with is, like, there's so many things in, because I have Final Cut Pro, I have DaVinci Resolve, I have Premiere Pro on here. I have a number of NLEs, and they're designed to just do things and do things well. Do I have an example? In fact, I will show you. I'll just show you real quick why this is a struggle. But let me finish this, and I'll show you that. So if you get to the point where you know you're going to think about something, what you can do is use that as a stopping point. So you stopped where the thinking happens, right? We'll put this as a picture in picture. This goes to where we were doing it. Stretch that out to wherever we want. I will say that you want your picture in picture to be pretty close to, in fact, identical if possible, just so it's really. There we go. Close enough for example's sake. So you're sitting there talking. If you know you're going to give yourself a transition, transitions typically happen when you are like where a comma would be. So if you're writing a sentence and you have I like bread, I think. So what you do is you'd want to cut, because there would be a comma right, bread and I. There's a comma there. So that's where you'd want to put a cut. So what ends up happening is, if you know you have a spot like that where you're going to put a cut, maybe it's because you take a breath and you think about something, but then essentially what ends up happening is, all right, so you got this moment where you're thinking about something, and then what you can do is just take this guy, put him here, and leave the part where you're thinking out. That's thinking. Oh, and then, go right back to input. And then output. There we go. And then, so there you go. Come on, marker. There you go. So talking some more. And then there you go. Go back. And then that works.
It's okay. So those are your two options that I could think of. OBS was the first one. Just your iMovie with little detailed editing or screen recording. That would be your second. The third I have thought of since is DaVinci Resolve. The reason I didn't jump at that for this video is, although it's free, it's actually a professional grade NLE, non-linear editor. It's like a software you use to edit videos. I don't know. I mean, that's an option, but I mean, that's jumping in the deep end very quickly. So I don't know if neither OBS or iMovie really sings for you, then let me know and I can quick do a demonstration on DaVinci Resolve for you. But like I said, that may be more than you want to be to get. Anyway, yeah. So that's that. All right. I really hope this was beneficial for you, and thank you for seeing all the way through the end. God be with you.